Hello and welcome to Animate Unit 2, Lesson 2. What are they designated as? Yes, Lesson 2, creating graphics and text. Now what's interesting about this particular section is I have the matching files, which is always amazing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the way the file starts and the way it's going to end. So you kind of know where you're beginning and you also know where you're ending. So the very first thing I'm going to pull up is what you're going to get when you start the actual lesson itself. So the very first thing is this is going to be in your downloads. So you should see this off to the side. This is going to be something we're going to start to work with. This is the way it looks like in the very beginning. Then if we come along in here, well, that is not what I wanted to do. My mistake. Hold on. Boop. If we come along in here, the way it ends, it looks like this in the end, so we're going to kind of play around with it, and this is going to be our end result. Now, you'll note, if you look at your resources here, you get to see different elements that are on here, such as I see the mug, I see some of the, I want to say text, some of those gridded things, and some different items where that's concerned. Should be interesting. Let's give this a go, because animation is amazing. All right, so give me a moment. So as we begin our lesson, we're going to choose the HTML5 canvas. We're going to choose 700 pixels, and we're going to choose 200 pixels. So that'll give us our width and our height. At that point in time, let's go ahead and push OK. So our first step is to go ahead and choose our rectangle tool, which is this bad boy right here, and then it'll come up with the properties. So you want to make sure the properties tag is chosen, and then we have to choose the fill and the stroke. The stroke is basically what you're actually going to draw it with, and the color you're going to draw it with. You click on this color selector. You'll notice that I choose 663300. So if I come in here, there's my 663300. I've already set it for. For those of you that are aware, that's a hexadecimal number for the color that will only mean, I believe it's in hexadecimal. You don't need to know that, but I'm just letting you know. And then I also choose over here, you get to see me choose it twice. Ha ha! So I come along here, I choose that, I do 663300, enter, right? And then I come along and I choose the fill, and the fill is supposed to be CC6600. So I click on my fill color, notice it says CC6600, and that indicates a different color. Now this is the way it should be set up at this point in time. Okay, so this next step, you'll see that I have drawn a rectangle. I almost said triangle. Woo! All right, what I just did is I clicked on this rectangle tool. I drew a normal rectangle like this. Then I'm going to specify the height and width based off its selection. So I take my mouse pointer up here to the selection tool right here. Then I have my selection tool. I can actually I'm left clicking and holding and drawing around the complete item. Now, if you don't have it all selected, when you change the width and the height, you'll actually have some of the border left over. So you want to go ahead and delete that again and then try again. So once again, all I did is drew a rectangle. Then I came along, I selected the entire rectangle, and then I came along the width, and I set the width to 130, and I set the height to 150. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this rectangle to take out ovals to represent our coffee cup. Okay, so what you actually see here is I've created two ovals, and what I did by doing that is I clicked on my oval tool here. I drew the actual oval here, and then I drew this oval right here. Once that's actually done, what I want to do is I want to click the selection tool right here, and then I want to click here. You'll notice it is now selected, and I can hit my delete key on my keyboard. Now when I hit the delete key on my keyboard, you'll notice it'll delete what's actually filled, but not the borders. I could come along in here, I can click on this one, and it should be selected. I can hold down my shift button, I can click this one, and I can hold down I'm continuing to hold down my shift button, and I select all of them. At that point in time, I'm going to go ahead and push delete, and now they are deleted. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the fill below, and then I just left clicked on it, and remember I used my selection tool, click on it, I delete that, and then I can, now if I don't want to use a shift, I don't have to, but I'm going to click each one of these, and I'm going to delete all those elements as well. So now I've actually deleted all those. Now I want to click the free transform tool, which is going to look similar to this. I'm going to highlight the free transform tool, then I'm going to select the entire cylinder. It says drag the frame, and I'm going to do shift control at the same time, so that's going to allow me to change the size of the two at the same time. So I use shift and control, and then if I come up here, I'm going to left click and hold, and I'm going to drag this in, and I'm almost making, well, I'm not almost making, I am indeed making a cup. Now I'm changing the size just a little bit here. So I might come down here, make it a little bit smaller. All right, so now I've created a cup. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste some elements. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually select the top and bottom arc at the same time. So I'm going to click this one, and I'm going to have shift, and I'm going to select that one too. And I'm going to Control C or edit copy, and then Control V or edit paste, right? So that gives me a whole different item. I can actually move that. I'm going to move that to right here. Now you'll notice it's going to go right over it to begin with, and I can actually move these elements in so it represents the top of the cup. And I'm actually, now I'm not going to specifically look for those particular items, but it'll give you an idea. You'll notice that the top of the cup is a little small. So what I can actually do is I can click on this, and I can click on this, and I can maybe make it a little bit bigger, right? Oh, I don't want to do that because that, no, well, I'll just leave it like it is. That totally works. Now, you'll notice what I did right here. All I did was select just this portion of the coffee cup, because remember those are two ovals, and I just controlled copy, and I controlled paste, or edit copy, edit paste. Then I move that down. At the point in time when I move that down, you'll notice how it's over, and it bisects the lip of the cup. So if I come in here and I just grab this part of the cup, and I delete it, and I can grab that part of the cup, highlight it, delete it, this part, there you go, that part, right? And that part. And you'll notice now that I'm actually looking in the lip of a coffee cup. Now, it can be, if your lip is a little bit larger, that's perfectly fine. That's no big deal. But neat stuff so far. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put some coffee in our cup, because that sounds wonderful right now. So I go ahead and I choose the fill option, which is actually located down here. And then I go over to the color option. Now, the color looks kind of odd, but they want you to choose 666 or 663333. I'm going to choose a slightly, hopefully a darker color, so I'm going to choose that one. Hopefully it'll be a little easier to come up. I have this, and then my arrow right there, I simply click where I want it to go. Now I'm clicking inside of this fill right here, and it's making coffee. Now you have to understand, it's not necessary to have the exact color match. I get it. Additionally, you'll notice that I have this extra oval down here, which I no longer need. I can click on my selection tool, I can take my mouse pointer to it, click right there, and I push delete. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to shade out our coffee cup to make it look slightly different. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work with the gradient tool. Now, they have a series of things that they've told you to change it to. You're more than welcome to modify the color so you can see more of the color differentiation, because it might be kind of difficult at times. It says open the color panel, color in the color panel, click fill color button, and choose linear gradient from the color type menu. So I can do Windows, and then I come down to color. All right, so here's my color. And then you'll notice right here for the tool, fill color, if I click on this and I choose the linear gradient, it might be one of these different items, or it could be, let's see here. Let me go back to it. Windows, color, and then right now it says solid color. I can down drop arrow, and if I choose linear gradient. Now, linear gradient, I've already set some different terms. You'll notice that you have on the far right, it's this particular color. On the far left, it's this particular color. What they want you to do is they want you to select on the far left, which is this one. I accidentally added an extra one, which is right here. and I can actually come in and I want to type whatever it is on my far left, which is going to be right here. Then I'm going to choose FFCCCC, and this is the hexadecimal locate or the hexadecimal notation for a particular value. So I choose FF and then CCCC, and that's my far left, right? So then what I do is I'm going to choose my far right, which is going to be right there, and they chose my far right color is B86241. So I come along in here and I change this to B8, so B86241, which is going to be my color over here. Now I could choose a darker color, so if I wanted to do that, it gives me a darker range. And you'll notice as I choose the colors over here, it allows me to change. So you don't have to have that particular color. This is much more of a color difference. And if I click on this middle one, you'll notice I can choose a middle color. So if I wanted to be more pink in the middle, I could do that. Or if I can change it to more of a lighter color, so I get a more of a color differentiation. Right? So there is my color difference. Okay. Then what I can do from there is I can actually click off it. And then if I come in and I click on my coffee cup will now have that gradient fill that looks slightly different that I just set. Once again, I choose Windows. I go down to my color section. I choose right here, I choose linear gradient. I choose the colors I want. And then when I actually use the tool, it is set to linear gradient. And then I will insert this particular color. If I want to choose a different color, I can do Window, Color, and I can choose back here, and I can choose to solid color. So now I'm set back to a solid color fill. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to work with the Gradient Transform tool. Now, one of the things that happened with me is I added a gradient to my back rim right here, and then it filled the entire thing. So you're going to try to pull a gradient that's actually added to the back rim. I understand if it doesn't work. Mine didn't, but it basically spilled over into the entire thing. You just want it back here. So in order to transform the gradient, we'll actually click right here. Now mine is already set to the Gradient Transform tool. But if it's set to the free transform tool, you just come along, you see the little triangle in the bottom right hand corner, you click on that, you choose Gradient Transform tool, you click on the gradient that you want to transform, which is this. Let's have the circle, and then you have this item right here. If I left click and I move this in, I'm actually transforming my gradient, and they consider this to be pulled tighter, right? You can also change how the gradient looks. You can change it to where it looks more of a rounded gradient to make a cup. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you is how to change the gradient of the coffee itself. So the very first thing I did is I chose the coffee, and I made it 150% to make it easier. Then I choose the coffee as something to actually put a gradient on. Remember, if I'm going to put a gradient on it, I choose this. I can actually come along in my window and in my color, and then I drag my mouse pointer down here, and I made sure my radial gradient was selected from here. I said radial gradient or linear, it doesn't matter which one you want to choose. And then I chose a brown to make the coffee. Now, once I have this set, right, I can then come up here and I can click on this right here, and I want to choose my Gradient Transform tool. And remember, my Gradient Transform tool might be beneath my Free Transform tool. Once I get that in, I simply select it. Now you'll watch, you've got this that allows you to widen the gradient or make it more in the middle, right? I can then choose this. See? There are different options to choose from. And then I can modify to make it look more like liquid within it. How you set this gradient or how that actually looks, there's no specifications for that. And this concludes the beginning of part A. Well, I should say the end of the first part of Unit 2. Look for part B. Thank you very much for your time.